Okie So here I'm just going to go through kind of the instructions here. First on a Mac, so this is going to be a Mac video, just so you can see what it will kind of look like for each of the individual steps. So I'm actually going to follow along with this right here. So if this is useful, you can follow along and see what this looks like. Okay, so let me make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start here by making a new folder with Idyll. So again, you could have installed Idyll in a few different ways. So npm install g Idyll will do it globally. You can also do just install Idyll. So if you installed with npm without the G option, just npm install Idyll, this will make a local copy of Idyll. And so it'll probably install in something like called app packages or something like this. You just have to make sure that you give the full path directory to wherever it happens to install and keep track of that. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that's installed, and we're going to move on to creating something. So I'll do that with Idyll create. And so it'll ask, hey, what should we call your post? We're going to say my first post. Okay, and what would you like to name your post? I'll just call it my first post as well. And so here it's going to sort of create everything and create all of the directory structure, and so that's what's happening right now. So we're going to follow what it says to do here. So I'll say cd my first post. And so we can take a quick look around. So there's a few different data structures in here. So I can see that, a few different directories. I can do that with an ls. I can also see where I am again with pwd, and cd change directory is how I'm moving around. And so going forward in class, there's a few things that we're going to play with. So we will add stuff to the data directory. We're also going to end up adding something in the components directory, and we won't be messing with the node modules directory directly, but that's where all of our different packages will be installed. And static is where we can put images. So that's sort of what's going on with that. So first, let's start by just running and seeing what we get. So here this is building the website, and then it's going to serve it to us. Here my default is Chrome, so it's going to open up in Chrome. And so you should get something that kind of looks like this. And you can play around with different things here, right? You can press the click me button. It'll move around. And again, if you resize this, it'll sort of resize with you. Okay. And so now we want to start by building up from this into basically where we ended last time in the lecture, which is the index.idyll file that I linked in the lecture. So I'm going to Control C kill this. Okay. And I will close this window as well. Okay. And so here I'm going to download this index.idyll file. So I already downloaded a copy, so it downloads a copy. And I'm going to move it into here, into my first post. So let me do an ls. And if you're cautious like I am, you might want to keep your old index file just in case and move it to something that reminds you that it's your old file. So I'm just doing mv for move, index idyll old. Okay, and now I'm going to move from my downloads directory, I'm going to move the index.idyll file here. Okay, so now I'm going to try to just run it again, and I'm probably going to get some errors. So it's saying things like, hey, Idyll Vegalite could not be found, and it's very upset about that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to install Vegalites, and so we're sort of at number 5 here, and then we're going to try and rerun this. So I'm going to do npm install save, so it'll save to my local directory, so I can use it for this post. So Idyll Vega Lite. Let me make this a little bit bigger because I think I've got a typo. Vega Lite. Okay, right, I have that spelled correctly, I think. Okay, so it's going to try and do that right now. So it's sort of downloading things from the web, etc., etc. And so we're going to get a few errors. And so there's a minor version update. I'm not going to bother dealing with that right now. But there's a few other things here. And let me make this a little bit bigger. So it's saying things like these dependencies aren't installed. I really want you to install them. Okay, so we're going to do that. And so luckily I have this as a list here, right? So I can just copy and paste this list. So I'm going to do that. So these are all the dependencies that I have to install by hand. So these are all the ones that are listed here. Da, 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 da. Okay, so let me go and install those. And so I'm going to get some of these errors that I'm just going to ignore for the moment. And so this will take a little while, so don't panic. Okay, so now it's saying I've added these things. There's also a few more React things listed here that it's saying it would like for me to install. But first, let's try just running it against this. So now I'm going to try and rerun my the Idyll build, basically. So I'll say Idyll. Okay, so here's where it's hosted again. So now we have the images that we included, and you'll probably see something like this. So there's a few different reasons for this. So right now we're not using the correct layout, and so we're going to fix that really quick. Okay, so I'm going to Control C, kill this. And again, I'm going to open this in my favorite text editor, so I like using Emacs, so I'll just do Emacs, and I'm going to actually open up my package.json file, and let's take a look at what we have here. So there's a few things to note. So here, instead of saying centered, what I want to say is blog. So this should be a blog layout. And the theme, instead of default, I'm going to put GitHub. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And again, this is what you can download here on the website, and just make sure that, again, you can download in two places. Just make sure that you have the correct package.json file. Okay, so let me try it one more time. Okay, so this looks a little bit better, right? So this looks, there's a scroller here. Let's take a look at this. So now our scrolling overlay looks a little bit different, but it's still not perfect. But our table looks good, right? So this is what we want our table to look like. And so there's one more thing that we have to do. So if we remember when we installed things, it asked for a few more versions of Vegalite. Sorry, not of Vegalite, of React. And so I'm going to do those now. Okay, so I'm going to install this React. Oop. I don't think I copied it. Here we go. Copy, paste. Okay, and so let's try this one more time. Idyll. Okay, and so now we have our scrolling overlay over our image. Okay, and we also have our nice table, and lo and behold, we have this plot here, and so this plot is being generated by Vegalite. So if you have a working setup, this is what it should look like. You should be able to interact with things here. You should have scroll bars. You should have these two images. You should have an image that has a scrolling overlay that tells you facts about corgis, and then this is an example table. So this example table is just using sort of the default data that is in Idyll, and then this is a little Vegalite plot that we're making. Okay, so that is the end. If you get to this, then you have a working setup and you're ready to go for next week.